Third time's the charm. Solution to exploitation is not encryption. Would you please put your hands together and give a big BSides Toronto welcome to Vincent Lee.
Testing. OK. Welcome to Third Time's the Charm. Solution to exploitation is not encryption. Before I begin, who here works for HPE? Please raise your hand. Perfect. Nobody works for HPE, so I can speak as whatever I want. OK. So this talk is about how HPE tried and failed to patch some bugs in their product. And at the end, they decide not to patch that bug, so we have a title change. This is a condensed version of a talk that I'll be giving in Mexico next month. So we'll be a little bit tight on time. My name is Vincent Lee. I am a vulnerability researcher at ZDI. At ZDI, I do root cause analysis and variant hunting. I also provide detection guidance for our product team. You can find me on Twitter. So what's ZDI? ZDI is the world's largest vendor agnostic bounty program in the world. If you have 0 days, we buy them. And if you want to monetize your research but don't want to sell in gray market or black market, consider us as your research outlet. We'll buy bugs. We are also the organizer for Pwn2Own and mobile Pwn2Own. Our next event is in Tokyo in November. We have IoT devices like Google Home, Amazon Echo, and whatnot, and handsets as targets in the Tokyo event. So if you have some full exploit chain in those devices, consider joining this competition and win some bounty. Here's a picture of my hand clicking on a link that will jailbreak this iPhone in a Faraday cage in Tokyo last year. And that's the end of my plug. This is today's agenda. So a little bit background. Back in November 2016, our program received a collection of bugs in HP Intelligent Management Center, 8 of which were command injection vulnerabilities. To my knowledge, HP has attempted to patch them twice and decided to give up on the third time, and a little bit more on the target. According to their website, HP Intelligent Management Center Enterprise Software Platform is a comprehensive wired and wireless network management tool supporting the FCAPS model, provides end-to-end business management of IT, blah, 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 blah. OK, so some management network management software. So this product has a modular design. Can you guys see any of this? So these are the list of components that come installed by default. It has lots of components, lots of moving parts, lots of services that are installed by default. Our command injection bugs are located within the dbman.exe service, which is the one highlighted in blue. So this is a control pane that shows a list of processes spawned by this product when installed in a default setting. Again, command injection bugs are in the dbman service. This thing runs multiple services. First, dbman services listens on TCP port 2810, and then there's TFTP server, which stands for Trivial File Transfer Protocol, that listens on UDP port 69. For some reason, HP decided to write their own TFTP server from scratch, so it's really buggy. And then there's also a Java web server for EC administration. There is also img.exe, which is super interesting. It listens on port 8800 TCP, listens for remote connections, and dispatch messages to other components. What that means is it will grab some message and send to one of these EXEs in this list. So even though the process does not, or even though one of the process does not listen or actively listen for remote connection, you can still reach it through img.exe by giving it the appropriate message. So overall, this thing is very buggy. This thing has a super large attack surface. Different types of bugs are in it. Some are classic, some are modern, some are esoteric. And by buggy, I mean very buggy. Since 2017, we've bought this many bugs that is located in this product. And if you want to learn more about these bugs, you can read 2 of my blogs on zerodayinitiative.com. And one of them is about a deserialization bug in the web interface. And then the other one is yet another story of a failed patch, which is super interesting. Highly recommend you reading it. So all 8 of these command injection vulnerabilities are very similar, so I just picked one. This is ZDI 17.33.339. This vulnerability is located in Opcode 10006. It uses a custom communication protocol that leverages the ASN.1 technology. It's a classic command injection vulnerability, so it's super boring for those who know what a command injection vulnerability is. But that's not the point. The interesting part is in the patch diff-ing part. So in short, the attacker sends a control data to the surface. Surface uses it to construct a command, and then runs system on the command, and then you get code exec. So the vulnerability is in RestoreOne local zip file. Oh, one very important point. This entire presentation is pretty much based on the work done by Savisi back in, who submitted this collection of bugs in November 2016. So big thumbs up or shout out to him. Where was I? Yes, RestoreOne local zip file. That's where the command injection vulnerability is. So this bug was tested in IMC 7.2 patch 10. And for those who are not super familiar with ASN.1, I have a 3-minute crash course for you. So according to Wikipedia, ASN.1 is a standard interface description language for defining data structure that can be serialized and deserialized in a cross-platform way. This technology is used in many things, such as X.509, Kerberos, and LDAP. The idea is that if A speaks JSON, B speaks XML, C speaks binaries, D speaks foo, and E speaks bar, and they want to talk to each other, then you need to have 20 different translators. But what if they all speak ASN.1? Wouldn't it be wonderful? You just need 10 translators. And this is the time when I post the obligatory xkcd comics. So here's on the left, that's an example ASN.1 scheme for a rocket data structure. In this data scheme or definition, a rocket consists of a sequence of fields. And first, there is a name property, which is defined as 1 to 16 UTF-8 characters. There is a message field, and then there is a field property that can be those 3 types only. And then there is a speed property that are defined in 2 different units. And there's another payload, which is a sequence of different strings. And on the right, that's a rocket instance and the values that are associated with it. So what if all those A, B, C, D, E speaks this underlying schema, then they could all translate into this abstract type and then talk to each other that way. So there is one schema and multiple encoding rules. This is one example of the encoding rules, XML. So this may be translated into this XML format. This same thing may also be translated into a binary format. And for those who speak ASCII, you can kind of work out, there's Falcon right there, 6461, and then there's car, and then GPS. OK, let me run back. A little bit more on the BER encoding. It utilizes tag length value data structure during the encoding. The values, they could be nested, hence the diagram on the right. In here, 30 is the tag, 1D is the length of that entire, the rest of the binary stream, and then value is the rocket sequence in the beginning. And then you can, again, see 80 is the string, the name that is 6 ASCII character long, and then Falcon, and then that's field type, and then that's the speed. And then you can see there's the gray box, there's a sequence that encloses the payload, which says car and GPS, and they have their respective tags and length. So that's a super quick crash course on ASN.1. And to trigger this bug, we need to speak dbman.exe, and it utilizes a custom protocol, as I said, and this is the custom protocol. On the wire, you give 10,006, and then the length of the payload, and then ASN.1 encoded payload, and then that's how you talk to dbman.exe. This is the schema for the 10,006 packet. So you need to create such a data structure, and then plop it into that data field to talk to dbman.exe. And then the fields highlighted in blue are used in the construction of a command line. That means any one of those fields could let you get code exec. This is the disassembly for restore1 local zip file. This is where the command injection bug is located. Closer to the bottom, there is run command. It runs commands, takes in a command, and runs it. The function calls about are C++ calls to constructing a command string. And here's the compiler output. You could see there is the operator plus that concatenates the commands together, and then it runs command closer to the bottom. And run command runs command without runs command. So we back one slide above, we can see that in this function, it takes the payload from the ASN.1 data structure and then puts it directly into the operator plus. So it constructs the command string without any sanitization, and that's where the bug is. So this is how it looks when you run it in WinDebug. At the moment when this call is run command, this is the injected command. So as you can see, our researcher has decided to write OK Google, restore one local zip file into file in C drive. And this is how it looks. So HP has attempted to patch this exact bug, or this collection of command injection bug, twice. And this is their patch. Once they've released the patch, our researcher actually submitted a failed patch bug, so resubmitted the bug again. And I put it in a bin diffing tool, and this is the vulnerable function, and it says exactly nothing was changed. So that's what it is. So yeah, so what did they do? When performing bin diffing, it's very important to know what to look for and think like a programmer. So say if you're a programmer that writes this product and you have a service that handles different opcodes, how would you write it? You probably will have a receive loop and then have a switch statement inside, and each case handles one opcode, and that is exactly what they did. This diagram is the gigantic switch deal message is what they've named it. The turquoise block on the right there is where they handled opcode 1006. The two orange boxes are two other vulnerabilities. So in here we know from the big switch to the vulnerable function, they have one more function in between, and they have not touched restore one localized zip file. And so the patch must be in that unnamed function. And it is in there. This is another view. This is the binary diffing view of the middle function. It's called RestoreZipFile. As you can see on the left, that's the unpatched version. On the right, it's the patched version. You can see they've put a lot of stuff in the middle. So we're interested in the area highlighted in the red boxes. So here's this enhanced view. On the left, the unpatched version. You can see that's the function prologue. It enters the function and then calls the vulnerable function very quickly. Can you still hear me? No? Hello? Hello? Good? OK, cool. So on the left, the vulnerable function is called very quickly. But on the right, you can see they've done a bunch of stuff and then calls the vulnerable function on the right. In fact, the function prologue is not even in the view. It's like the function prologue is somewhere in the above. So in the red box highlighted, they've called an extra function called dbman decode length. So this is pseudocode of what they've done in the patch. Do something in dbman decode length, and then if success, call the vulnerable function, and then you die, or you get code exec there. This is a call graph that db decode length has. You can see, besides the obvious function name decrypt message, we can see that it calls EVP decrypt final, which is an OpenSSL API, so we know it does some sort of crypto in this function. And in fact, this is what it does. It generates a key from some hardware configuration stored in IMC hw.conf, and then generate a key to decrypt another key stored on file named ks.dat. And then once they've decrypted the secondary key, they use that secondary key to encrypt the message on the wire. So this is how the custom protocol looks in the new, in the patch surface. You can see the payload is just encrypted. So this is how I imagine the HP developers fix their code. They run the POC, observe getting crashed, and then do something, breaks the POC, runs the POC again. Hey, it doesn't work. Great, we fixed it. Let's push it. But, oh well. So the heart of the problem here is that HP used cryptography to they're trying to solve an authentication problem with encryption. And encryption is great. It provides confidentiality, but that's not what the vulnerability is. The vulnerability is about authentication. Like anyone can send whatever spoof message to dbman. It will just run whatever. So that's the problem there. So the story is, please just fix the underlying code, and hence the talk, like solution to exploitation is not encryption. So patch bypass, how do we bypass that? Since the underlying command injection vulnerability was not patched, it still is not patched, we can bypass that. We can do that in two approaches. One way is to figure out what's stored in those two files. The other way is to overwrite them. And in fact, that's what Savisi did. He found two more bugs in the product and overwritten those two files with known values. Now he can generate a proper message that the product will understand and happily execute whatever payload he's given. And everyone gets an O-date. This command injection vulnerability remains unpatched. We have released a 0-day advisory about this 20 days ago. They were given chances to patch them, but they've decided not to patch them. So that's where we're at today. So conclusion, when you're doing patch diffing, know what to look for. Think like a programmer. You open bin diff, and then it won't just pop out like, hey, here's the bug. You've got to look for it. So that's my tip for you. Everyone gets an O-day. The moral of the story is attacker is one info leak bug away from system. For those who are developers, please fix underlying issue instead of just putting a Band-Aid. And then another shout out to Savisi, who did an amazing job finding these bugs. And yeah, that's all I have. Questions? Perfect. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.